Välkommen till Sweaty Business Podcast. Podcasten för dig som vill ha koll på det senaste som händer inom träningsbranschen. Idag har vi ett specialavsnitt tillsammans med ingen mindre än koncernchefen för Mills International, Phillip Mills, son till grundaren Mills, som 1968 drog igång verksamheten i Auckland på Nya Zeeland. Det startade som en gymkedja och har egentligen utvecklats till en internationell leverantör utav gruppträningskoncept, både fysiskt och numera virtuellt. Häng med! Jag vill även passa på att puffa för Scandinavian Club Business Days som går av stapeln under fitnessfestivalen. Det här är ett forum med föreläsningar och nätverkande för oss som arbetar i branschen. Det är kostnadsfritt för upp till 4 personer per företag. Surfa in på fitnessfestivalen.se, klicka in på event och där hittar du information om Scandinavian Club Business Days. Vi har ett fantastiskt föreläsarprogram som du inte vill missa. Inspiring and interesting, and a lot of things that obviously I've seen, but also some insights and also actual figures, because I think there's a lot of trends that people are talking about, but I haven't seen so many actual figures and stats of how things are really going. So basically kick off there. Just need to find my question sheet. But what are the, like, from your point of view or Mills point of view, what are the, like, what main trends do you see in the industry today that are affecting the industry?
Sure. So, it's the ones that I talked about.
Yeah.
Obviously, the low-cost clubs have had a really big effect on the industry, and they've hurt a lot of the traditional clubs, but ultimately what they're doing is making the traditional clubs do a better job.
Yeah.
Either that or they're making them go out of business and somebody is buying them who is doing a better job.
Exactly.
And so it's good, you could almost build anything and call it a club for about 20 years and do okay with it. But with the low-cost clubs, then the public have really started to question, okay, well, why should I pay $50? Why shouldn't I pay $15?
Yeah.
And so it's forcing people to do a good job if they want to charge more money and if they want to succeed, which is good. And we're seeing that people will pay for it. Obviously, at the other end, people are paying a lot of money for the boutiques. So the boutiques are leading a lot of the real innovation. And I think that it's like the clothing business, where, up until like the 1970s, the department stores dominated the clothing business. And then the clothing boutiques in the 70s and the 80s, they really killed the department stores. But now it's come back. Then the department stores started putting boutiques inside. And I think that's what's going to start to happen now in the traditional clubs.
Yeah.
You're going to see them doing a better job and putting boutiques inside and creating more better experiences.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are just going to say, no, I'm not going to go to you. I'm going to pay $10 or $15 a month, and I'm going to just pay to use a room full of equipment.
Great. But digging into the boutique trend, or whatever we're going to call it, what do you think they have done really good that has made some of them succeed? Because not all of them are successful, as you pointed out in your presentation.
It's a hard business, when you just run one activity in one small box.
Yes.
It's hard to be successful. I think that they have created some really cool activities. So some of the workouts that you're seeing, like at Barry's Boot Camp or at F45 or at the bike studios, the yoga studios, so many different wild, crazy types of yoga now. The boutiques are really innovating. They're really, really creating some great workouts for people. That's the best thing they've done. And they've brought back the idea of the rock star teacher, because in the 80s, the instructors you had some of the best dancers and actors and athletes taught aerobics.
Exactly.
And it was a prestigious thing to do.
Yeah.
But 20 years later, they were still getting paid $20, and it was not so prestigious. So I think the boutiques are bringing that back. If you've got a Soul Cycle class and you've got 60 people paying $35 a head, you're collecting $2,000. Well, you can afford to pay your teacher $100 or $150.
Yes.
And that's encouraging a whole new breed of good young people to come back into to the industry. And I think that's what the traditional clubs have to do.
Yeah.
They've got to have bigger studios, and they've got to, where you can get 100 people in a class, and that then gives you the economies of scale to be able to afford to pay some of the teachers well. It's difficult if you've got a studio which is only going to hold 20 people, then it's difficult to ever pay the teacher very well unless you're charging extra for it, which some clubs are doing.
Yeah. Because I was quite thrilled by the concept. You were talking about big stadiums in terms of big clubs, I guess.
Yes.
And a lot of the boutiques are actually focusing on quite small studios and getting as many people as possible into as small spaces as possible. Because you said bigger is better economically, basically in the end for traditional clubs.
If it's free, then you've got to have it be big.
All right.
It's not that the boutiques are really small. You're getting 60 people in a class at Soul Cycle or Flywheel. All of the bike studios are doing 60 bikes. Some of them are doing even more.
But they're very efficient with their space.
Yeah, with their space. Barry's will have 20 treadmills, and you'll be able to fit 60 people into a class if you need to at Barry's. Orange Theory, some of those guys. So they're figuring out ways to put 50, 60 people into a class, which is not small, just very space efficient. But if you're going to make it free, you really want to be able to get a lot of people in a class.
Yeah.
And if you can have a big studio which can fit 100 people, or some of our studios fit 200 people in them, then you can really afford to pay a fantastic teacher.
Yeah. Cool. And you were talking about millennials and Generation Z that's coming in, and that has a huge impact on the industry. What would you say are the main differences when targeting them compared to like the traditional gym members that are already in the clubs?
Yeah, well, the style of in which fitness was delivered for the Boomer generation and for Gen X, it was it was just a different style, and it was okay at the time, but it was quite a cheesy sort of a style, and the kids of this age, they just look at it and they say, it's terrible. It's something that our mothers used to do. We don't want to do that, and we predicted that. We had a study, Future of Fitness study, which we ran with Nielsen in 2008, where we talked to a lot of futurists, to a lot of people outside our industry, and they predicted. They said, 10 years from now, the next generation isn't going to want to do what happens in clubs now. It's they're going to look back on that as being an anachronism, and it's perfectly true. In 2008, that study came out called The Future of Fitness, which we did with Nielsen did it as a big study. The New Zealand government paid for half of it, and we paid for half of it, and it was about a $500,000 study, and it just perfectly predicted that the new generations would not like the old style of fitness.
Yeah. But you think it's a matter of choosing target group, or could you fit both of these target groups into the same concept?
You can fit them both in, and it's not perfectly different. You're going to have some you're going to have some more old-fashioned millennials, and you're going to have some more cutting-edge older people. You can dice the study differently. Reebok did an interesting study where they divided it into about 10 different groups of people based on what sort of fitness people they were, what their fitness tastes were, and that was another big study. I think they had 40,000 people in that study. That was about 5 years ago that they did that. So you do, within the different age groups, you do get people with different tastes. And some people are going to like the very cutting edge stuff. But some people, Body Pump is bigger than ever. Body Pump is just still growing like that for us. We had to change some things. Yeah. We modernized the music a bit, and we modernized the teaching style, the coaching style, to make it more of a modern strength training coaching style, like what you might get in CrossFit or something. And we changed the marketing, the brand image to make it look younger, and we changed the equipment, music, more modern music, and we get a lot of millennials and even Gen Z who are coming to Body Pump. Maybe they're not the very most cutting edge of that group, but there's a lot of them. There's a big number, and we still have the older people coming. We still have Gen X.
Cool.
So you can do that. Like Body Attack, we just did Body Attack 100. That's our oldest class. I used to teach that. We started in 1980. And in fact, it wasn't 100. It would have been the 150th class. We changed the name of it when it got to the 50th class.
All right.
We changed the name to Body Attack. And that class, it's one of the oldest classes in the world. 1980 it started, but it's still really popular. It runs in 6,000 clubs around the world, and you just modernize it. You modernize the music, and you modernize the style of the exercises. But still, basically, it's almost the same class that it was in 1980.
In a nutshell, how do you work with innovations or iterations? Like how, obviously you do studies, but how do you actually form the product? How do you?
A lot of it is having younger people involved, employing younger people on our choreography teams. And employing young DJs, cool cutting-edge DJs to find the music, and a lot of it you're watching the trends. You're looking at the boutiques a lot, seeing what the boutiques are doing, and but then the boutiques aren't doing everything. The boutiques aren't doing anything like Body Pump. And Body Pump is still. It's still
stronger than ever.
Yeah, it's like the equal biggest sort of class in clubs around the world. You just think about it. You focus on it.
But if you're a traditional club owner today and you have and you want to adopt and do some quick wins, what would you recommend to start off with to adapt? Obviously, it's a journey to get to where you want to be, but what could you do pretty much tomorrow or within the next couple of months to start this journey?
The first thing I would do would be a really cool cycle studio. I think that's the easiest one to do. I think it's a small environment per square meter. If you do it well, it's the most profitable space in the club because you can fit so many bikes into a little studio, and it's easy to make a really experiential space there, and it's easy to run a lot of virtual classes there. So if you put in a screen and then you put in some great virtual content, you can run virtual content all day long. Now you can put the trip in. That's the most experiential. That's the most cutting edge class in the industry. You can have an incredibly experiential environment if you put in the trip. You can run some great live classes there in peak time. It's an easy win. And I think, the cycle studios, the boutique studios, it's tough because it's a low barrier to entry. It's easy to compete with them. Some of them doing some really nice stuff. I had a couple of shots there from One Rebel, the new One Rebel bike studio at Victoria. So, that's beautiful what they've created there. But it's, you don't have to go that far. You can create a really experiential bike studio. So I think that's probably the quickest, easiest win. I really believe in bigger studios. You find a way to create more studio space in the club, and look at with your cardio equipment or gym equipment, what's not working. A lot of clubs have redundant space, and you can find some more space. You really want to have a bigger studio. I think to get cool young architects and interior designers, that's a really valuable thing to do. To create a cool space that millennials want to go to, you've got to get millennial architects or millennial interior designers.
Yes.
But the other one that I've always believed in, that we've always done, is audiovisual. You put a screen like that in the wall of your main gym and you play music video and adventure sports. It just energizes the environment. It's a simple thing you can do. For $20,000, you can put one of those on the wall of your main gym, or two, and you can have music video playing, and makes it a very cool, very high energy place to be. And you can buy a lot of these services now where you can get, mixed with music video, you can get adventure sports, like people doing crazy stuff, and it's fun. So there's a lot of little simple things that you can do, and it's going to come down to your budget, and choose what you're going to do first.
But I guess it's not an alternative to just stay as is. I mean, I guess you have to innovate at some point, or you will be.
It's innovate or die. Yeah, we can't stay where we are. You've got to choose where you're going to go. You're either going to go low cost, and that's got incredibly competitive.
Yes.
The competition there is tough.
Yeah.
Or you're going to go up market, and that's got very expensive. And so then you're going to look and you're going to say, okay, well, how can we make it so that there's enough value here that people are prepared to pay more than for a low cost, without spending $10 million plus to build it? And that's going to come down to applying principles from boutique design, or it's going to come down to having more group workout space. It's going to come down to having bigger group fitness studios.
Great. And what about virtual? There's a lot of talk, and I know Les Mills is really investing in that in that direction. What does it take to succeed with a virtual concept in a gym? What do you need to have in place?
You've got to have a great screen. You've got to have one of those. The old projectors just don't cut it. It always looks washed out.
Yeah.
And you can't have light in the room. You've got to darken the room, which is a pain in the ass. And it's not nice. It's like, I don't mind going into a Barry's workout or into a flywheel workout in the daytime, in the dark, for that reason. But really, I like to work out in light, in natural light in the daytime. At night, I like a nightclub environment. That's cool, but I don't like to have to go into a darkened environment in the day. So with that, you can just hang it on the wall. It looks beautiful. The resolution looks so much classier than it does on a projector screen.
Definitely.
And in the long term, it's cheaper, because projectors, you're always having to replace the damn bulbs. They're really expensive. So you do that, and you run a fixed schedule. You never run on demand. Okay, you run a set schedule with something happening all the time. It'll never work if you make it on demand.
Why not?
Because people are shy and they don't tend to go in and choose and put on something themselves, and then somebody else might go in and choose something else. You just run it as a schedule, and then some other people are doing that. I'll go in there. People are shy about doing group exercise, and that's one of the other big benefits of virtual, is that they're using it as a stepping stone. In the beginning, we feared that it would cannibalize live group fitness, but what it's done is it's really given it a shot in the arm. It's really boosted it. People are using it as a gateway. They're going to virtual, and then they're going to live. And a lot of them will keep doing both. A lot of them will, they'll, if it suits them, they'll on a certain day they'll go to a virtual class, which is an off-peak class. But then they might want to go to the big class with the rockstar teacher in prime time, because it's a different experience.
For sure. In terms of technological advancements and, for instance, virtual reality, augmented reality, do you think we will see that coming into the virtual or perhaps into the regular group fitness as well?
I do. It's something that we've been talking to those guys for a while now. It's the VR headsets. It's like what Per said. The VR headsets, they won't handle sweat and movement yet, but at some stage in the future, when it's just like a pair of regular sunglasses or something, then it's going to be very different. We're waiting for that to happen. And sure, that's going to be another dimension, another level of fun and gamification and theme parkification or whatever you want to call it.
In your presentation, you gave, what was that, 8 steps? What did you call it?
The 8 golden rules.
8 golden rules
of group fitness management.
And you actually mentioned you were talking quite a bit around actually measuring stuff. Could you just elaborate on that and what you mean, and why is that important in the group X?
Normally people don't know, they don't have anything to benchmark against. They don't know whether their group X is good or it's bad. Most people think that their group X is good. It could be terrible, but they think it's good, because they only know what they know. And people fall in love with their own stuff. So when you measure it and you say, okay, well, here's reality. Our club has 500 group fitness attendances a week. And, the best clubs in our city have 2,500, or 5,000 attendances a week. Then you have an objective measure of how good your group fitness is, okay? So you measure everything, and then you start to count all of your classes, and then you can say, all right, these are our most popular teachers. Very often people they don't manage objectively. They say, well, Joe's always had that class. You look, it's the 6 o'clock on Tuesday class, and Joe has got 10 people, and Susan at 6 o'clock on Wednesday has got 50 people. And they don't make the change. When you look at it all on paper, you say, well, okay, hang on. I need to give Susan more classes. And I need to take Joe off the timetable. I need to retire Joe from the timetable. Or else I've got to tell Joe that Joe has got to do some work and get a lot better. You set a plan. You say, okay, we've got 500 now. Well, we're going to get to 2,500 within 4 years. And these are the things that we're going to do. And you introduce stuff step by step to make it better. And you measure your plan. You have milestones every quarter, and you report, and you say, okay, well, this quarter we're going to introduce a new program, and that's going to get us another few hundred attendances a week. This week we're going to put in a new sound system, beautiful quality sound system, to make the experience better. And we're going to measure the number, over time, how many more people that gets us. We're going to redesign the studio. We're going to put in, we're going to make a cool cycle studio, and we're going to measure the number of people who do that. We've had some incredible experiences from doing that, from making a cool cycle studio, and you get like double the number of people. just instantly within 3 months.
Yeah, because I worked in SATS when they installed the trip in SATS Stureplan, and the buzz around that was just amazing when it was first released. Yeah. I don't know now. I haven't been there since, but I mean,
I was there yesterday.
The launch, it was huge.
I was there yesterday. It was still going crazy. Yeah, I did a class that was full at lunchtime, and it was going crazy. You know, people screaming, and so it's. Yeah, it's. But there's a lot of stuff you can do. You know, in our cycle studios, we're running the trip, but we're also running RPM and we're running sprint, and you know, we're making those classes better all the time. And then we're running virtual all day, and now we have virtual trip classes. Yeah. And virtual sprint and virtual RPM. So there's a lot of stuff, and you can say, all right, well, I'm going to train my teachers. There's a big. There's a really good case study with Village Fitness in the UK. They have about 30 clubs. Okay. And they put all of their teachers through our advanced training module. Yeah. AIM, our advanced instructor training process. And they had a 40% increase in their class attendance within 3 months. Within 3 months, 40% increase. So, you know, it's if you're going to train, if you're going to build a champion team, then you got to train them. You know, you got to get them practicing, and you got to improve their skills and get them playing better.
Well, what kind of stuff do they learn in this education? Well, could you give any examples of?
Sure. You know, well, we focus on the core skills with all of our training. We focus on physical technique. We focus on basic coaching, basic intelligent coaching. We focus on performance, presentation, theatre skills, and on communication skills. All right. We say, you know, the choreography skill is a very big one, but we provide that because you get a lot of variation. You get too much variation in choreography, and so it's, you know, the majority of your teachers can't create great choreography of their own, and they spend most of their time creating choreography. So if you create the choreography for them and you spend a lot of time with some of the best teachers in the world creating the choreography, and you license the music properly and all of those things, then they can focus on doing what they're best at. And you don't need to be best at everything. You know, if you get somebody who's been a ballet teacher or a gymnast or something, and they have perfect physical technique and they look beautiful, then a lot of people are going to come just to look at them, just to be inspired by them. So you work on people's physical technique, you know. The coaching, the intelligent coaching, the what and the why and the how. A lot of people really like that. They like to learn. They like to be educated while they're doing their class. Somebody who's had a lot of theatre experience, for instance, a lot of stage skills, will have an incredible X factor. They'll be able to create an incredible feeling, an atmosphere in the class. Other people are incredible communicators and relationship builders, connectors, you know. But it's unusual for people to do more than two of those, to be good at more than two of those things. You only really have to be great at one of them, and you're going to be a very, very successful teacher. Mm-hmm. So you need to choose people's strengths. You find out what their strengths are. Normally their strengths follow their passions. So if they're passionate about something, then you focus on that. You play to their strengths and you build their strengths. You don't try and focus on what they're bad at. You focus on what they're good at, and you make them into a master. You know, you move them towards mastery. Some of the things, if they're really below standard in some of the other things, then you just get them to a standard of, to a professional standard, a standard of confidence, so that their technique is okay and their coaching is, you know, is basically there. They're not saying stupid stuff. You just teach them some of the basics. But it's powerful techniques that we've developed over many decades to teach them that stuff. You know, we'll explain the theory, we'll give them some drills to do it, then we'll get them teaching each other, and then we'll videotape them using that skill. We'll video them using that skill. We'll do video playback. Video is a very powerful training tool. Every club should have video training for their teachers. The group fitness manager or the fitness director should be videoing people at least twice a year, all of the teachers, and sitting with them and just showing them what they're doing and saying, hey, look, what do you think? What can you improve on? And they're going to tell you. They're going to look at it and they're going to tell you themselves.
Really good. Thanks for those advice. Anyway, looking into the future, on like a macro level, what do you think will happen? What do you think we will see happening within the fitness industry? Trends or specific products or whatever?
Like, I think the ultimate is that Midtown athletic club that I showed you. It's an $80 million club. And you don't have to build an $80 million club, but the concept of what they're doing there they've got their tennis and their swimming pools, and that's nice. They got really cool, like, outdoor swimming pools with a lot of people lying around on loungers, with a bar. It's like a cool swimming pool club in Las Vegas or something like that. The people aren't paying to swim, they're paying for sunbathing. And so you got all of that stuff there, but the really cool thing they did was to build all those incredible experiential group exercise spaces. And it's just working like crazy for them. So I think we'll see more of that. Again, like what happened in the department stores. The department stores got their asses kicked by the boutiques, the clothing boutiques. But now you go to one of the big department stores around the world, they've got a lot of beautiful clothing boutique spaces. You can go in there and it's nice because you wouldn't go to one boutique because you can go into the department store and you can see all of the great designer labels, in little their own little areas inside the department store. So I think we're going to see more of that.
Cool. In terms of education, because you educate a lot of instructors every day, basically. In terms of digitalization, what will we see there? Because the truth in the past was like we have to be there physically, instructing and discussing, etc. What is? I mean, you're a growing company. You're global.
Yes.
So I guess you. Going digital is
we've added a digital component to our training, but we still need to have people live for as long as we can. If you're going to really create transformation, it's like Anthony Robbins, if you're going to have transformation, you have to get the people in the room and have them really working with the master trainers to get that. But we can give them a lot more training a lot more quickly now by virtue of the fact that we give them a lot of digital homework. And the time then that they spend live in the room can be much more valuable.
Perfect. All right, that was basically all I had. What do you see when you look at the Swedish market or Scandinavia? We're quite similar, though. What strikes you?
The Swedish market in particular was a long way ahead. They were one of the early markets in the world, and I think they did a really good job. So I think that groups like SAFE, the old Swedish Aerobics Federation, did a really good job of training teachers and of establishing high standards. A lot of the old clubs, the original clubs like sports clubs, Stockholm, for instance, which became SATS, they really developed a high standard of club. So when we came here 20 years ago, the standards were high, and the teachers here, were good. The teachers in Sweden, you recruited a high quality of teacher already. So it was a lot easier to make our organisation successful in Sweden and then throughout Scandinavia than it is in some other parts of the world who came to the industry a lot later. For instance, the UK came to the industry a lot later and the standards were not as high. We've had to work a lot harder in the UK to get high quality standard of teaching going.
Cool. if we were in the forefront then, is there any area you see in Scandinavia or Sweden in specific where we are a bit behind in terms of trends? Or
so you're asking me that question a few days early. I'm going to go and look at some of the clubs over the next few days. I looked at that Sats in Stureplan yesterday, and that looked cool. It looked like they were doing a good job. I'm going to go and see some other new clubs and see some of the boutiques, see what's happening here over the next few days. So if you want to ask me again in a few days, I'll tell you where I see the strengths and weaknesses.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Tack för att du har lyssnat på det här specialavsnittet tillsammans med Phillip Mills. Vi finns ju på sociala medier och webb, sweatybusiness.se. Vi finns på Instagram, Facebook och LinkedIn, Sweaty Business Media. Häng med där för dagliga uppdateringar kring nyheter och trender inom branschen. Vi hörs. Häng med!